Hello, welcome to this session of Create Now Results with Kurt Nace.
Thanks, George. Today we're going to be talking about intentional differentiation. What is differentiation? Well, that's a great question. I actually looked it up. Differentiation is a discrimination between things as different and distinct. It is necessary to make a distinction between love and infatuation. Okay, that tells us a little bit. How about some more examples? Well, cold is not hot. They are different. Good, okay, and fine are not great. They are different. To listen is not to hear. They, too, are different. When we choose to differentiate ourselves from others, we're choosing to make ourselves different. We stand out when we are different. Standing out brings us attention. This attention can be viewed or judged as either positive or negative. For those of you who are old like me, you remember Sesame Street. And there used to be a little session on Sesame Street that one of these things is not like the others. Look at your screen. One of those things is different. Now, if you prefer yellow apples or green apples, being different is not a good thing. If, on the other hand, you're one of the people who prefers to eat a red apple, then being different, in this case, is a very good thing. So the question is differentiation desirable? Well, depends. If you're in a room full of healthy, fit, lean athletes and fitness models, standing out or being differentiated may be less than ideal. If, however, you're in a room full of fat, smelly people, standing out may be exactly what you're looking for. What if you worked in a field? What if you were in an industry or a profession where the public perceived your entire industry as dishonest, as having low integrity, as being unscrupulous and lacking professionalism? Would it be your desire to stand out? How would you do it? Folks, for those of you who are in or related to somebody in the real estate field, the public perceives realtors to be less honest, less trustworthy, less competent, and less professional than used car salespeople. They think that realtors make too much money, and they think that realtors are only worried about making a commission. Help me to remember here for a second. What is it they say about perception being reality? Now let's get back to the message. When you want to stand out, do you simply do what everybody else does and just try to do more of it, or try to do it a little better? Or does it make more sense to do the exact opposite of what everybody else does? Have you seen our presentation on the opposite of average is success? If you haven't, you might want to take a couple minutes, invest the time, and view that presentation. I once had a business law professor at Penn State University. He had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of students each year. He taught for 20-plus years. And he would always tell his students, if you ever get out there in the real world, you've got a small business, you're struggling, you need help with money or legal advice, let me know. Reach out to me and let me know what's going on. And when a student would take him up on this, which was fairly frequently with that number of fast students, the first thing he would have them do is to survey the competition, to define what everybody else does. And then he would help them to do the opposite. The one example that really sticks out was a bakery. And near this small family bakery, there were a lot of other small family bakeries. And they started competing for the bagel and coffee crowd on the way to work. So one of the bakeries started opening at 6 o'clock, and then the other one opened at 5:30, and then another one opened at 5, and then they were all opening at 5, and then they were all offering, coffee and bagels, and one decided, well, I'll give you 2 bagels and a coffee for $2, and the other one decided, I'll give you 2 bagels and coffee for $1.50. And they kept cutting their margins. They kept killing themselves. In this situation, this professor friend of mine said, I'll help you out. I'll lend you the money, I'll help you with the legal stuff, but we're going to find a way to do the opposite. You're not going to open at 5 o'clock in the morning and focus on the going to work crowd. You're going to open later and focus on the going home from work crowd. So they didn't compete with the early morning business that everybody was beating themselves up over. Instead, by the end of the day, they were the ones who had the fresh baked meals that you could stop and pick up, the bread to go with your dinner, the wonderful desserts, etc. They were fresh, they were happy, they were not tired and exhausted from being in the bakery all day, and their margins were considerably higher. The customers appreciated what they did far more because they were different. They had successfully found a way to differentiate themselves. My very first day in the real estate business, I walked around my office with a yellow legal pad. I interviewed everybody who was in the office that day, and I asked them one simple question: what do you do to get business? I wrote down all the stuff they said. Oh, I self-promote. Oh, I market myself. Oh, I take as much floor time or duty time or opportunity time as I can possibly get. I spend a lot of money promoting myself. I mail out, flyers and brochures, and I hand out fly swatters and pumpkins at Halloween, and I give people magnets and calendars. I had this long list, and at the end of the day, I wrote down, I will never do any of these things. Then I talked to the owner, and I talked to the manager of the company I was with. And I asked them, okay, here's what I know I'm not going to do. What suggestions do you have? And the owner, who to this very day is still a friend of mine, suggested that I talk to the three people, the three agents who weren't in the office. So my second day, I talked to, actually the first day I called those three and asked if I could meet with each of them on the second day, and they each were gracious enough to allow me to do so. And I spoke to each of the people who was too busy to be in the office on the first day. Now, for the last 15 years, each of those three has continuously done 100 or more closed transactions per year, which that's pretty phenomenal in the real estate business, particularly in a small town. And I asked them the following question. I said, if I'm not willing to do any of this stuff, if I'm never going to do any of this stuff on this list, what can I do to create business for myself? And these three busy, productive people who obviously have differentiated themselves by doing something far better than the masses said, well, you could call for sale by owners, but they can be a little bit mean. You can call expireds, but they can also be mean and frustrated. You could try to work with builders, but they don't like realtors. You could try to work with investors, but usually they know more about real estate than realtors do. So they gave me this whole list of other stuff I could do, stuff that most people will never do. I made a list. At the end of the day, I prioritized the list based on my very limited knowledge of what each one was, and I decided to focus on one at a time until I had built successful systems and models for implementing each one. I started calling for sale by owners, and I worked on building for sale by owner business until I had that at a point where it was running successfully. And then I did expireds, and then I did investors, and then I did builders and developers and so on. My very first year in the business, I closed 35 transactions. Now, back in those days, the average agent closed about 5 deals per year. I was in my early 20s. I hadn't even graduated from college yet when I first started. I could not have gotten a loan to buy a birdhouse or a doghouse. Yet I found a way to do 7 times more business than the average agent. Why? Because I differentiated myself from everybody else. Over the years, a number of my real estate partners and I have come up with a list. We've identified what realtors do, and we've identified what the opposite is. As you look at the screen, ask yourself, how often do you do what realtors do? And does doing what they do differentiate you from the masses? Look at that list. Realtors tend to focus on themselves. The opposite would be focusing on the client and serving their needs. Realtors tend to produce at a low level. The opposite would be to produce at a high level. Realtors tend to generalize. Yep, I can help you with buying. I can help you with selling. I can help you with investing. I can help you with leasing. I can help you with commercial. I can help you with land. I can help you with new construction. I can help you with anything. Versus, this is my area of expertise. I know it extremely well. I'd be happy to help you with this area. And if you need help outside of this area, I'd be happy to put you in touch with somebody who specializes in a different area. Take a couple seconds. Study that realtors do list. Study the opposite list. Where do you spend more of your time? My father's mother, my grandma Agnes, has often said the masses are asses. If you do what they do, you'll get what they've got. Are you differentiating yourself, or are you doing what they do? If you're ready to learn how to intentionally differentiate yourself from the masses, let me know, because I help people. Thank you for your time. Hopefully you're thinking, and hopefully you've decided that you too want to make a difference and you want to help people. On the screen is my email address. Reach out. Let me know how I can best help you. Make it a great day.